In this video, I'm going to show you how to set up your nature journal to track a few key variables in your research area. You'll want to start these activities early so that you can track changes as we progress from summer to fall and on to winter. There are nearly infinite variables that you could measure in your research area. Take 3 minutes and write down all of the ideas that you have for making measurements in your research area so that you can better understand how the ecosystem responds to changes as the seasons progress. Take 3 minutes and I'll wait. I'm sure you have a good list. I will share with you 4 ideas that I would like you to do in your research area. Phenology is the study of how plants respond to the changing seasons. Bud break, flowering, creating seeds, autumn color, and leaf drop are all examples of phenological events and are influenced by climate, that is temperature and precipitation, and the photoperiod, or the amount of light. In your research area, you're going to find 5 different leaves from 5 different species, and you're going to track how they change as the fall progresses. So you'll need masking tape as well as a pen, and you're going to go up to the leaf and you are going to put the tape around the leaf stalk just like that, and you're going to label this number 1. Then you'll find another leaf, number 2, number 3, number 4, and number 5. Number 1. An alternative and high-tech version of this assignment is to actually take pictures of the leaves each week and enter these pictures into cells of your chart in Word, and then print this off and paste it into your nature journal. In the nature journal, create a table with 6 rows and 13 columns. Use the entire page to make this table. In the column heading, write weeks 1 through 12, but leave the first column open. On each row, within the first column, write 1 through 5, leaving space to add the species name once you know it. Each week, while you visit your RA, find your 5 leaves and use watercolor or colored pencils to match the leaf color to the square. Make special note of when the leaf drops off the tree and continue to observe and record its color as it breaks down. Pause this video now and make a chart in your nature journal. Be sure to give it an appropriate title. Temperature plays a major role in the speed of an ecosystem. Warm systems move quickly with loads of insect life, fungal and bacterial activity, nutrient cycling, and soil formation. As the temperature cools, activity slows down with it. These graphs show this relationship between temperature and productivity, as well as precipitation and productivity. If you look at the graph, you'll see that as temperature increases, so does primary productivity. As annual precipitation increases, so does primary productivity. Each week, visit our local weather station online and look for the high temperature and the low temperature. Plot the high with a red dot and the low with a blue dot. As the weeks progress, continue to plot the dots and then connect the dots with the line. As we advance into winter, what do you think the line will likely do? Do you think it will be a warm fall or a cool fall? When will the first freeze be? When will the first deep freeze be? Similar to the phenology table, create a new temperature table with 13 columns, but this time you'll want 11 rows instead of 6. Label the column headers with weeks 1 through 12, leaving the first column empty. And for the rows, increase by increments of 10, starting at 0 degrees Fahrenheit and ending at 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So each week, you'll consult our local weather station and you'll plot the average high and the average low. As the weeks progress, you'll connect these dots with a line. Be sure to visit your plot and take a soil temperature reading. It'll be interesting to see how soil temperature varies from air temperature. By the end of the term, you might have a graph similar to this. The forest floor is an important part of a forested ecosystem. It is found in the uppermost O horizon. The forest floor is comprised of 3 layers: leaves and sticks, fragmented leaves and sticks, and humus. Collectively, the forest floor is known as the O layer, as in organic. Each week, you will measure the depth of the forest floor as summer transitions to fall and fall to winter. Just like the temperature table, create a new forest floor table with 13 columns and 11 rows. Label the column headers with weeks 1 through 12, leaving the first column empty. And for the rows, increase by increments of 5, starting at 0 and ending at 50. The units for this will be in centimeters. Use a measuring tape to measure the same location each week, from the top of the A layer all the way to the top of the O layer. The forest canopy is comprised of multiple layers, or strata. It starts with the shrub layer and the mid-canopy, which is collectively known as the understory. The upper canopy and emergent trees make up the overstory. Each species has a unique strategy for coping with the stresses of winter. Some trees drop their leaves early while others wait and wait, hoping to maximize every drop of sunshine. We will measure the overall coverage in your forest canopy in 2 ways. We will use an image from your smartphone's camera, as well as a light meter app in your cell phone. In forest science, there is a field of study known as hemispherical photography. The idea is simple. Take a photo using a fisheye lens of the forest canopy above you, and compare the dark pixels against the light pixels. The dark pixels represent the foliage and branches that block the light, and the light pixels are the light that reaches the forest floor. What do you think will happen to the ratio between dark and light pixels as the season progresses? We don't need a fisheye lens in order to gain an idea of what is happening to the forest canopy. Simply lay on the forest floor, looking up, and snap a photo. Be sure to use the same location each week. In hemispherical photography, the images are analyzed by computer software. For our purposes, it will be adequate to simply estimate the percentage of dark pixels versus light pixels. Just like the temperature and forest floor tables, create a new table with 13 columns and 11 rows. Label the column headers with weeks 1 through 12, leaving the first column empty. And for the rows, increase by increments of 10, starting at 0 and ending at 100%. Create a stacked bar graph of light versus dark pixels each week. By the end of the semester, you might have something that looks like this. There's a number of smartphone apps you can use. This one is Luxmeter, and I'm simply taking repetitive measurements over and over again, and you see an average is gained. What are some issues obtaining reliable data with a Luxmeter? Well, give this some thought, and you might realize that the time of day, if you go in the evening, it's going to be darker. Also, weather, clouds could influence your reading. Create a new table with 13 columns and 11 rows. Label the column headers with weeks 1 through 12, leaving the first column empty. And for the rows, increase by increments of 100, but on a sliding scale. So you might end up near 100,000 lux. It's possible that bright sunlight could be up to 200,000 lux, but under tree cover, it is likely that it's around 1,000 to 2,000 lux. We will see. Hopefully you feel like this video has been useful. You should now have 5 graphs ready to go in your nature journal. The first graph is the Phenology graph, and this is where you track 5 leaves and look at their color each week. The next graph is your temperature graph, and you'll record the high and low for each week as well as the soil temperature. The next graph is the forest floor graph, and you'll be measuring the amount of leaf litter that accumulates on the forest floor each week in centimeters. Next, we're looking at the overall light levels in the canopy, and you'll use your light meter app, your lux meter, on your phone to come up with averages each week. Finally, you'll be looking at the overall canopy coverage. Using your smartphone, you'll take a picture, look up at the forest canopy, and estimate the overall coverage of foliage compared to the amount of light that's peeking through. Have fun out there!